Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the Caring View. I'm delighted today to be joined by Carly Rochester, who joins me today to talk about the Me Passport. Before we dive into that conversation, just a special shout out to our sponsors. So we have Prosperwell, the social care's leading marketing company, Attis Insurance Brokers, and CBAT, the leading social care training company offering face-to-face and e-learning. Carly, thank you very much for joining me today. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, very well. Very well, thanks.
Good.
Great to
So,
be here.
no, thank you very much for joining. So before we dive into the conversation on the Me Passport, can we just do some introductions? Can just let everybody know who you are and your role within Me Passport, but also within social care.
Yeah, sure. So I've worked in social care for the last 25 years, and I've had sort of a variety of roles from care coordinator, senior care coordinator, on-call manager, registered care manager, all of which gives me a sort of a really good foundation for, that has brought me here basically to where we are. And I'm also the co-founder and director of Me Passport.
Thank you very much. So let's dive straight in. So what is the Me Passport? Can you tell us more?
Yeah, so Me Passport is a digital employment passport that's been developed to be built, owned, and shared by the social care workforce. Um, so, as you know, working in social care, we're always saying we need more carers. You can see on the news all the time, there's recruitment crisis. It's a never ending sort of hamster wheel, if you like. And it's that hamster wheel that sort of led us to develop Me Passport, not having sort of quick access to staff when they walk in to join an organisation. So whether that be they be brand new staff, or if they're staff that have worked in the sector for 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever else it is, everybody starts an organisation the same. Application form, DBS, references, all of that sort of stuff. Me Passport, like I said, is a digital employment passport, and we've developed this platform to be able to have the identity all done and verified once. I'm only ever going to be me. Why do I need to keep telling everyone? Then the profile information, the employment information, the reference information, the DBSs, the right to work, every single thing you need for safer recruitment. Regulation 19 is built within the passport. You own it and you share it. That's it in a nutshell.
No, thank you very much. So what are the current issues? So you spoke there around some of those delays in recruiting new people into our roles, which 100%, I think we all face it, waiting for DBS checks, references and bits and pieces. And even more annoying if somebody might have just started a role and it isn't for them and they think, actually, I want to go, and then they have to wait, a month, 2 months, whatever, for all of those checks. What are the current issues you're seeing in social care at the moment?
Well, I mean, the state of social care skills for care report across the last 2 years evidences that us as a sector lost 780,000 of our workers just in those 2 years alone. And within that time, although we lost those workers, 400,000 of them actually just moved to different roles. So we retained a high percentage, but none of them have portable information. So because that's not there, it actually costs the sector £1.3 billion to re-recruit our own staff. So that's just madness, so that's just core recruitment costs. That's not costs for, the end user that really needs the care and may have delays in hospital or may not have the times they want in a community because people don't have the capacity. And that's not the cost of our workforce, who we have to lean on because there's not enough working bodies beside them, sort of thing. So, it's been an age-old story, basically. I started in social care when I was 20. And now I'm in my sort of past the age of 45, shall I say? Yeah. And the reality is, 20 years ago, I used to sit with somebody, do an application form and all of that sort of stuff. 25 years later, nearly 2.5 decades later, we're still giving them application forms. Yes, there are some digital checks, great, but nothing is in one place. And that just causes us huge delays. It's hugely inefficient, and it doesn't give us the staff we need. So the reason why we come up with this is because, you know, we felt sick of trying to be a magician in providing somebody really good care. You know, that's a scary statement. So how do we make it better?
No, I think it's a fabulous idea, and I think, like you just said, I joined when I was 17, and I remember filling in that ridiculously length and yeah, you are right, things have gone digital, but we haven't taken it to the next step. And I
Yeah.
think we do have a lot more care workers, support workers now on the update service than we ever did before.
Yeah.
So you spoke there around earlier about that it's the employee that holds the right to all of their documents and they're the ones responsible. How does it work from an employer's point of view? So say they want to recruit me and I've got a me passport, how does that then work?
So literally, once you have done all of your checks as an employee, you would then have like publishing rights, say for an example. So the system would say every single thing is back. You've got everything that an employer now needs. So you now can show yourself as open to work to the market. So what an employee can do is make themselves open to work in a marketplace, in a digital marketplace, and an employer can see you and say, all right, Mark, let me look at his history and all of your credentials and things like that, like your top level information. And then they can reach out to you directly. So there's no middleman. And equally so, you know, if you have a me passport, if you walk past a provider, you can look on your app and go, right, okay, Lodge Group Care. So I can search Lodge Group Care in my me passport app, find that they are a provider that obviously will accept my me passport. I can go in, I have a unique ID, and that provider can just search me and I can share my information in less than a second.
No, thank you very much. And what information does somebody hold on their passport other than a DBS and their name? What other information can they upload?
So it literally takes them for a whole journey. They do their identity verification, they validate their passport, they do a selfie and liveness check, they build their profile, so all of their employment history, all of their education history, they add their references, their skills, their DBS, their right to work, and also e-learning. We've just actually formed a partnership with Grey Matter Learning. And their mandatory e-learning is accessible within a passport. So rather than people coming and saying, I did do my e-learning, but nobody gave me a certificate, so I can't prove it, because we know that that's a problem within the sector. They hold their digital certificates that's, you know, validates that they've done their training behind their identity, and they can share that. So it's literally every single thing you need to employ somebody under Regulation 19.
No, I think that's great. And yeah, definitely pleased to hear about the e-learning side of things, because you are right. I think we all, I mean, I know firsthand, you know, I've done training and then 6 months later you've left and then you're redoing it. And
Yeah.
I hear from care workers when I used to work at NACAS around that they'd done the care certificate somewhere, had completed it, didn't get the certificate because it was on their staff file, and then go somewhere else and they've got to redo that whole induction of their care. Yeah, absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So in terms of the system, how does it verify the documents once they upload maybe their passport? How does that work behind the scenes?
Well, we've actually partnered with the company that does GovVerify. So we was literally like, you know yourself, like in social care, rightly so, we're very risk adverse. So we was like, whoever we partner with needs to be the best of the best. So we actually partnered with a company called Digidentity. And then what they do is they're built within our app, and they will literally do a chip reader of the passport to make sure it even gets checked by like Interpol, you know. So they'll check the chip of the passport, they'll do a liveness check, they'll do a face recognition check between the passport and the person, you know. Everything, any check that happens within the passport is like top level, you know. We've gone to sort of gold standard, because, you know, anything like this is new. So, you know, that's the only sort of way we've, you know, been able to justify, you know, how do we create this in such a way that it's just a no-brainer sort of thing. So it's all of those sort of things. And we've also as well partnered with the post office. So we have post offices nationwide that people can sort of go and have the in-person documentation check. So rather than them going to the individual employers, they go to the post office that supports their me passport application and the building of their passport to be able to complete their profile.
No, that's really good. I really like that. So talking about there the passport, there would have been niggles on your journey, which I think, like everything, there's always niggles, and I think it's always good to discuss them, just because I think that it helps people that are maybe thinking of becoming an entrepreneur know that actually it's not a walk in the park. What were some of the challenges that you faced, but how's that kind of led you to the end result of what the Me Passport now looks like?
I think that it's tech initially, you know, because my world is social care. If you told me like a few years ago, I'd be sitting here chatting to you about tech and an app and a dashboard. Well, come on, you know. So apart from like, you know, the normal like Instagram, you know, apps and all of that on the phone, I don't know nothing about tech, you know. So I think it was just, you know, there was one situation that sort of led us to develop Me Passport. And like I said earlier, you know, it was about, you know, wanting to provide better care and going to the local authority at the time to say, you know, we really want, we've got a great idea, but we need, who do we go to with ideas? And them saying, yeah, this is great, you know, supporting it and everything else. And then trying to navigate your way around tech. You know, you need an app developer. Okay, great. How do you know it's a good one? You know, you need somebody who does the back end and the UI. Great. How do you know that they're good? You know, and it's not all been plain sailing. You know, that's been really difficult. You know, we've had a few tech developers at first before we sort of got the team we have now over the last few years, who have been absolutely amazing. But it's learning that whole new world, you know, being in a room initially talking to people who were saying things I had no clue but nodding. Do you know what I mean? To now I know I can speak a little bit of tech language, and also as well, you know, people earn money off of doing things in an antiquated way. So sometimes you get a little bit of resistance because actually nobody really wants to change the old guard, because the old guard serves a purpose to some. Do you know what I mean? So I think that it's been that as well, you know, overcoming those conversations and saying, you know, for an example, you know, we went to a local authority and had a conversation about Me Passport supporting personal assistants. It's an unregulated workforce, and you know, they're in some local authorities they're actually onboarding with a 5-year-old DBS. You know, well, that's not safe and that's no good. You know, so but at the time when we was initially having a conversation, it was the lady was sort of saying, well, you know, she kept putting up barriers, and I thought, what's the problem here? And it's actually, she was worried about her job, because what she does for a living, which is sitting there and onboarding people on paper, could now be done in one single app, and it would take away that sort of resource. But what she didn't see actually was you can be redeployed to other areas within the organisation to make the organisation better. Do you know what I mean? Nobody gets any value from sitting chasing references all day. There's none. You know, or looking at application forms to add out employment gaps. There's no value in that, you know. So I think that it's been changing of the old guard and actually just learning what tech is and sort of trying to, you know, navigate our sort of way around it and not want to quit because it's been tough.
And imagine for you on a personal level, it's probably been quite nice for that professional development as well, of learning something new, getting your teeth into something different. Because I know when I started the Caring View with Adam, actually that world of tech was very different to me. You know, I wouldn't ever have thought I'd be there doing podcasts and live streams and bits and bits. But I know actually the world that opens up is also really fun and interesting and insightful, just as much as social care is.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you know, we work within social care because, you know, we love it, we're passionate, we know how much difference it makes, but it becomes sort of, you know, you're sitting there every day and you're facing the same problems. You know, to have something that you know would provide a solution sort of ignited my sort of belly of fire. Do you know what I mean? I was like, right, okay. And it's never sizzled, thank God, you know, because we wholeheartedly believe in what we're doing. So but yeah, I think that, you know, even though I was so passionate, I've always been passionate about the sector. I'm trebly more passionate now, you know, because we're doing, it's tech for good, basically.
No, definitely. And I obviously saw you at Care Show and heard all the wonderful comments that were coming back about it. And I guess for you, that's really nice to hear that actually you've got a product that people actually
Yes.
want and believe in, which obviously then keeps that fire alight, knowing that actually you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, and also as well, it can be sort of a solitary journey, you know, because you're you know, within social care, not everybody understands if you're on this little tech journey. Do you know what I mean? So all of a sudden, you've come from this big community where nobody really understands what you're trying to sort of do in terms of, if I'm talking about tech architecture and all of this, they're not interested. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, for sure. I mean, there was a couple of sort of pinch me moments over the last sort of few months because we've been able to sort of bring the product out and launch and things like that. You know, a couple of comments, people said, "This is amazing." I thought, oh, I'm going to cry in your face, so I'll have to walk away. I think it was all that stress leaving my body, but yeah, no, for sure, it's very, very rewarding. And even like, you know, now seeing people, you know, the other day, for an example, one of the care staff come into the office in Romford and said to me, "Oh my God, I've just used my passport and I've got into a job and I literally shared my data in a second and I can't believe it," you know. And she was talking to me and she was like, you know, I'm working with a company and I really love the company, but they just don't have the hours. And I've been so worried because I didn't have any options. Do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, this little app that we've worked tirelessly on, you know, has opened up an opportunity for her to get extra hours at a local provider, stay at her other provider and earn enough to financially sustain herself. So they're the wins for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was going to say, I bet for somebody on a 0-hour contract, actually, it is a life changer being able to shorten that employment gap, because it's fine if you're on a contract and you want to leave and go somewhere else, because it might be that you can play around with your notice period and your start dates and bits and pieces. But actually, if you're on a 0-hour and the work just isn't there for whatever reason, whether that's through the company or your own admission, whatever it is, actually being able to know that you're going to be able to go into another job and not wait for up to a month or however long it's going to be, actually must be really reassuring for people.
Yeah, and not only that as well, it's like if you spend all of your time on board into an organisation that you really liked on interview, but actually when you join, it's just not the right fit for you. Do you know what I mean? Like to have that option where, you know, you've got choices all of a sudden. Do you know what I mean? And for us as well, I think that because I think that providers as well, you know, for a long time, certain providers have had the power. Do you know what I mean? Like, you want to leave us, well, I'll play around with your references. You know, you want to leave us, well, I'll play around with your certificates. We know about it. Do you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
happens. We do know. And it's like, you know, be a good employer. You know, people don't want to leave good jobs, basically. So hopefully as well, it sort of pushes that change, because, you know, if people have choices, then, you know, providers who don't treat their staff as nicely as they should will need to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. You touched there on references. How does that work on the Me Passport? What kind of references do people need to collect if there's somebody thinking about joining?
Yeah, so it's your last employer you'll need, and your character reference, and then what happens is once you have your Me Passport and you start sharing it between organisations, when you after you've built the passport and we have the references in ready for you to go into employment, every time you share your passport you'll get a digital employment stamp, so it will have your start date, the provider that you're working with, your role if you was a care worker, what your duties are, and that will sort of start building up your references beyond the moment as well, because that passport's got to build with you. And then also as well, and this is probably going off your question a little bit, but we've also built sort of a conduct register. So providers now, there's no central place where we sort of share conduct, and we're all a little bit scared, you know. So if somebody comes to us, we share dates, somebody else shares dates, but we don't always get a lot from dates, and we end up passing around, you know, bad characters, if you like. Yeah. So with Me Passport, once you've built your passport, you've got your references. Once you're in employment then and you're within the system, then we start building up like all of those start and end digital dates, so that expedites that time, but also your conduct history.
I think that's really good, because you are right. There are staff that, you know, leave for whatever reason, whatever company, but
Yeah.
because of legalities and bits and pieces, you are right. You only give the dates because you don't want
Yeah.
any comeback. And yeah, I often have thought, you know, that bad person ends up going to work for somebody else with vulnerable people, likely to do whatever it is that they've done with you elsewhere. But yeah, you are. No, I absolutely love that part, and I love the fact that it creates that digital timestamp of when you've been with people, as well as not just, because I think anybody can lie on a CV, whereas at least actually the current company that they're leaving is able to verify that.
Yeah, well, 87% of all CVs are lies, so we work with one of our guys that's on our advisory board. He actually heads up the Better Hiring Institute, and they done some study for government and for the government, and basically they found that 87% of CVs were lies. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, I suppose we've all done it in a way as well. Like, I like tennis and I like gym and I don't like none of them things. Do you know what I mean? But you're trying to sell yourself, aren't you? So however you get into employment, people do tell a lie, so and that's it as well. CVs are antiquated, they're the thing of the past. Do you know what I mean? Build up your profile, have your digital footprints, your timestamps wherever you go, and let your character follow you. Do you know what I mean? And then we're, with the references and only sharing dates and things like that, lots of times people do it because they're scared. Like, I've spoke to providers and they don't know what they can share. They want to share a bit of something, but they don't know if they're able to. So for us, we just wanted to build a tool where we could say, look, private and confidentially, you can share information because it is for the greater good. Do you know what I mean? We look after vulnerable people and we need to be protecting them as well. So we want to aid people into employment, but we also want to protect the people that we look after. So yeah, we've done a hell of a lot of work on that. Oh my God, it kept me up.
And one thing that you're doing a lot of work on is getting it right. So at the moment you're in North East London.
Yes.
What are the plans to expand, and is there any kind of future roadmap of expanding across the UK? Because I know that you obviously want to make sure that you get it right before you then expand. Whereabouts are you in that transition journey?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to touch every bit of wood in this house, but yeah, it's been going great. I mean, what we didn't want to do is run before we walk. Do you know what I mean? And that's why sort of, I never said this earlier, but John and I, who's the other co-founder and director of Me Passport, we've literally bootstrapped the whole thing, because we didn't want, in the beginning stages, an investor coming in and saying, right, okay, want to do this and this, and losing the integrity of it all, the place of, of where it was born, basically, for tech for good. Yeah. So what we did was we had a conversation and said, listen, we're Havering based, we're North East London, well connected. Let's roll it out there. Let's find out. Let's, because the thing is as well, lots of things that you create and develop, you think's good, but in real life, in the wild, it might not be as good. Do you know what I mean? But Touchwood's been going well, but we've put it out in North East London, and the plan next within the next couple of months is we're going to roll out across London, and then literally we'll go around nationally then. Because people have said to me, like, this is so good, Carly, just launch it nationally. And I'm like, hold on a minute, let me breathe. Let's just wait, because we've got a roadmap, and we're just like, we've learned a little bit, we've learned a few things, and I'm sure over the next couple of weeks, months, whatever, we'll learn a lot more. And we want that. Do you know what I mean? We want to learn on a local level rather than a national level, because we want to protect the brand. This is like our little baby.
No, and Adam and I did a series on entrepreneurship, and what they said, actually, it's really good and right to get the foundations. So actually, as opposed to doing a big massive launch worldwide that you think actually is the right thing, actually you grow too quick, you don't have the staff behind you, then it fails for whatever reason. So yeah, no, I think it's definitely right to get those foundations and tread slowly. And also, word of mouth soon spreads. So that, I know when I was at the care show, and since, I've heard people saying, have you heard about the Me Passport? It's really good, you should have it. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I've seen them, but but I think word of mouth soon spreads, and there'll be those organisations in North East London that are talking to South London about it. And yeah, especially if you've got people that are in franchises, that obviously goes up and down the country as well, talking about actually what they're doing and the innovation. So no, I definitely think it will end up going across England, which is really good.
Well, I mean, it's even like you, isn't it? All of a sudden now I'm chasing you around the care show because I know about the caring for you. And I'm like running after you with a bottle of Me Passport, bit of merch. You know what I mean? And that's what happens, isn't it? Locally, we all start talking about innovations that's within the sector. So, yeah, I think that little organic growth and that learning period for us is being really valuable. And providers, we was initially ringing them saying, look, you heard about Me Passport, blah blah, and we are still doing that, but we are organically now getting providers coming to us, not on no big marketing budget, saying, listen, I've heard about this, come round to see us and all the rest of it. So it's been really positive for us, and everybody wants world domination, but you've got to start right.
No, definitely, but you do. So you spoke earlier around the collaboration with the post office. Has there been any other collaborations or stakeholders that have been really beneficial in shaping this that you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, Havering Local Authority, they've been magnificent. We initially went to them with the innovation, and they was very receptive, and they've been really extremely supportive. And I think we're lucky to work within a borough that is so receptive to innovation. What are they called? The partnership board. The partnership boards across the ICS, they've been really, really good. Whatever they could have done to help, even sort of getting us into meetings with the directors of adult social care, or putting us in a newsletter, or whatever else it is. I think Care Provider Voice, we're actually working in partnership with Care Provider Voice across Redbridge at the moment, and obviously their shared vision is to make sure that recruitment is more accessible and people come into social care and stay within social care. So that's been extremely good. But as a whole, I think, once you make the right connections, those connections introduce you to other connections. And I think with us as well, where we're different is we're not a tech provider that's come in and we're trying to sell you some software. Do you know what I mean? We're a care provider that's come in and is tried to sell you a solution to a problem. So I think that, it's never ever been a hard sell. Obviously we're local at the minute, so I might change that if we ever meet again. But everybody locally to us, even Skills for Care, have been phenomenal. And obviously as well, like I said earlier, we've got a magnificent advisory board, and I had a pinch me moment the other week because we had a sort of first advisory board meeting, but like the national lead for CQC safeguarding, then we've got sort of Keith Rosier and Dominic Headley, who heads up the DBS policy, and Jane Townsend, and I don't want to forget anyone, but they're all like magnificent. So it's been so good to sort of lean on that knowledge and expertise, because the reality is, you don't know the answer to every problem, but everybody feeding in and collaborating towards a solution has been, tremendous.
No, definitely. It's all around collaboration.
Yes.
So Carly, anybody wanting to know more, where can they find out more about Me Passport?
Okay, so we've got a website, mepassport.co.uk. And if you want to get in touch, I'm very active on LinkedIn. It's like my second full-time job at the moment. So you can drop me a line on LinkedIn, or contact us at info@mepassport.co.uk.
Thank you very much. I'll make sure that we share all the links and bits and pieces in the description as well for you.
Fabulous.
Before I let you go, Carly, any final words, anything we haven't discussed that you want to let us know about Me Passport?
No, only that it's absolutely amazing. And I do believe, it's just the way we move forward. Do you know what I mean? There makes no sense. It'd be like you traveling the world, and every time you sort of travel to a new country, you've got to apply for a new passport. Well, that's madness. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, sometimes in life, we've just got to make it make sense. We can't always moan. We've got to make it make sense. And if there is a good solution to a problem, embrace it. Tech for good.
Definitely tech for good.
Yeah.
I do like that. I'm going to steal that. I wrote on a post-it note. Well, Carly, thank you very much for joining me today. And like Carly said, if you do want to go and find out more, please do visit mepassport.co.uk. Before we close out, just a special shout out to our sponsors once again. We've got Prosper Well, Attis Care Insurance, and CBAT Training. Carly, thank you very much for joining me, and have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you.
Yes, you too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.